Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. And last night, I finished a book, and then I had nothing currently read in my Storygraph, and I felt so free. I felt so free. Because if you remember, 4 weeks ago, I was in the middle of 4 to 6 things. And now, I'm now in the middle of 2-ish things. I just started 2 things. I haven't committed yet. I think I have ideas. I still need to figure out my audiobook. I have no idea what I'm going to do for that. I thought I knew, and now I don't think I like that audiobook narrator enough to do it. So we'll see. But let's start with what I finished since last time, starting with probably my most anticipated release of the year, The Possession of Alba, Diaz by Isabel Cañas, and it was very good. It was very fun. Just to get it out of the way, not my favorite of the 3 I've read, but still a very solid, fun time. In this story, Alba Diaz has to go to this mountain mining area of this person she's betrothed to. It's supposed to be a marriage of convenience. And then she has chemistry with this guy's cousin, but also she's losing track of time because it's the possession of Alba Diaz. And it's historical, takes place in 1765 outside of Zacatecas, Mexico. And I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. It had some twists and turns I really wasn't expecting, but then also just felt right for the genre. And I guess to also just give you guys context, there's only one really possession story I've ever consumed, and that is the Exorcist movies. I've watched 2 of them. So I haven't read other ones. And I thought it was really cool how we both get her point of view, and we also get Elias's point of view. And it's really interesting having the point of view of someone who is being possessed, and also how that thematically ties into her agency as a woman in this time and why she makes the decisions she's making. I thought the chemistry was pretty electric for me and my tastes. I think my controversial take was I kind of wanted a different ending. There was a thing I thought she was committing to that I was like, wow. And I don't think it quite worked out the way that I wanted it to, but I think that would be controversial depending on who you are as a reader. I don't think the ending is bad by any means. I was just really excited for it to go a different way until it, it swerved again. The plot, it twists, it swerves, it goes. You're like, should I trust them? Should I not trust them? And it's a whole time. But I liked it. It was pretty short. It looks bigger than it is. I think it's only 300 and 60 pages, but it reads pretty quick, and I really enjoyed it. So that's one thing I finished. Another thing I finished, I can't even remember if I put on the TBR, but it's the Empusium by the Polish author who has won the Nobel Prize in Literature, and I'm forgetting her name. I think it starts with Olga. But I've read one other book by her, and I read it for a book club, and I read this also for a book club because I have found my new bookstore in Cleveland. I talk about it all the time. It's Hexagon Books in Cleveland Heights. I adore it, and they have this is the Continental Challenge, so they're trying to read Nobel Prize winners from different continents, and I guess now we're in Europe with her. And it'll work for her kid because it's translated. I figured out another prompt it works for by just reading it. And it's also historical horror, more psychological horror, more fever dream horror. And man, she just has such a distinct style. Her intentionality as an author, I'm always I don't know if I like what you're doing, but I respect it. I respect what you're doing. The one other book I read was To Bury Your Bones in the Plow. It had an old lady character who I really didn't enjoy, but I honestly still think about that book a bit, so I don't know, maybe it's more of a 3-star than a 2-star, that one. This one's more of I probably a 3.5. We'll see. We have book club tonight, and I'm very pumped because this is definitely a book that I think is going to be so fun to unpack because, wow, what is happening? I do think, based off looking at some Goodreads reviews, that this is in conversation with a book that I have never read. The Man in the Mountainside or something like that. But what I thought was really cool, just out of the gate, because it's historical, and I think it takes place in 1914. I think this time last year I was talking about how much I was enjoying my World War I historical fiction, and then earlier this year I've really enjoyed historical fictions that was in the 1930s, because it's between the Great Wars. This one, right before the First Great War, was very interesting, especially because the whole conceit of this is we're in a place where people with tuberculosis consumption go to basically have the clean mountain air and get better. And one of our characters, our main character, is a young scholar who goes to one of these places, and you basically go through a few months in his life in this really weird situation. And I just thought it was so interesting and boring. It was either very boring or brilliant. Like, I really can't explain it other than that. At least it was only 300 pages, the appropriate length for this book. But I really love that it's in a time where they know it's because of something like a bacteria. Like, we are in the part of history where we know it's a bacteria, but we're not in the part of history where we can fix it. And I think that's such a fascinating part. Like, 20th century science is bananas and very cool and full of very bad actors in terms of scientific minds, which is another thing this book does really well. So it has a lot of navel-gazing philosophy that is meant to make you cringe. And it's, again, both boring and brilliant how it's executed. Something that I'm sure has to do more with I'm just not used to reading Eastern European and Russian type literature. I mean, this isn't Russian, but I do know this kind of happens in Russian literature as well. It's like everyone has like 3 names. And it was very hard for me to keep track of things, like excessively hard. Like, everyone's just called you like 3 different versions, either their first name or their last name or something their last name, or sometimes they're talked to like he's referring to them as like some metaphor thing. I say he. There is very obviously early on a chorus telling us this story, which is very cool. How that is done, I think, is one of the parts that I think is brilliant. Like I said, there's a lot of things that's brilliant, there's a lot of things that's boring. There's a lot of moments where, like, I think I haven't felt this way kind of since Vita Nostra, where I am feeling kind of like the main character at times. Like, the main character doesn't feel like he can hold on to the passage of time. He doesn't know the connective tissue between moments. And that happened to me so often reading this book. Like, I'd be like, wait, we're in a flashback now? Well, there was no cues. There's no transitions. It's just 1 minute, I'm here. The next minute, I'm in a flashback. 1 minute, we're doing this task. The next minute, we're in a conversation. And now we're all drunk. And, like, man, I guess we went to sleep. Like, the passage of time, truly nebulous in a way that I felt was annoying, but also brilliant. See, that's my issue. It's my issue. My enjoyment factor versus my appreciation factor. Where will the rating fall? I can only imagine the rating will go up when I get to talk about this with other people. Like, honestly, already immediately after finishing this, I found out my friend Grace, I'll link her channel down below. We accidentally this month kept reading books at the same time as each other. Like, she was reading Alba Diaz the same time as me, and she finished the Empusium like a week before I did. And there were some moments where I'm like, I'm reading that scene right? Like, that's my interpretation of this. And I kind of liked that for me. And this was obviously not the case for most readers, because I read a bunch of Goodreads reviews. But for me, I kind of wasn't super surprised by what happened, even though I didn't call what was happening. So I felt like that meant the breadcrumbs made sense. Like, it was both surprising and, like, within the realm of possibilities as it was given to me. And there were cues that were set up. Like, there was intentionality and planning, and the vibes I was picking up didn't just come out of nowhere. There was reasoning for the vibes that I was sensing. And so that was very cool. Something that I would say that probably I think did affect both of our readings, and I'm curious how it'll affect the reading of other people, is I listened to the audiobook. This was a very hard audiobook to just listen to. I had my best time immersion reading it. I unfortunately couldn't only immersion read it because I had to get it done in time for this book club, and that's just how time worked. But it was way harder for me to stay focused with the audiobook, and that's not because the audio narrator wasn't good. It's, again, that whole sense of where did the time go, dazing off into space sort of vibe the book can give off. But because of that, the narrator has a female presenting voice. Something that is known about this book by most people is there is no female main character or anything in here, and it's by design. And so that already, like, kind of frames things in an interesting way from, like, an audio reading perspective, versus if you're reading it with your eyeballs, you might not give the chorus a female voice. So I thought that was interesting how that led to us having certain different interpretations and framings when we got to certain parts of the book. But yeah, and there were sweet moments, and there were sad moments, and there were disturbing moments. I wouldn't say it's scary horror. I would say it's psychological, mind-bending fever dream horror, thriller, suspense type thing. And the historical research that went into this, I will leave that author's note for the readers, but boy howdy, was that something that I appreciated so much more after reading the author's note. Like, I wasn't disliking the misogyny. Like, I knew the misogyny was there to make a point of some sort. Like, all these men are just incredibly misogynistic about how they view women. And of course, it's a choice to have no women as characters in the books. And like, obviously, I knew there was a thematic point and I was correct. So I trusted the system and it paid off. And then it was even better than I could have imagined. So that was cool. Anyways, I'm rambling a lot about this book that probably not many people truly care about, but I'm very excited that once again, I have found a book club that is pushing me outside my comfort zone. I wouldn't have picked this up. I wouldn't have given this author a second chance, except for book club. And that's exactly why I try to pick the book clubs that I go to the way I do. It stretches me, and I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped to be social tonight with book nerds and maybe treat myself to a book at the bookstore. We'll see. And so now, what am I reading next? So I think I decided of my horror reads next, I've kind of been inadvertently reading historical horror this month. So I started in the 1700s, went to the early 1900s, and now we're going to go to the mid-20th century. At least, I don't know if it all takes place in the mid-20th century or if it's flashbacks to present day. I think it's all 1950s. Yeah, June 1950. The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I bought this in New Orleans earlier this year. And mainly because I bought the hardcover because I hate the paperbacks of this book. And I read the first chapter to make sure that I was in the appropriate headspace. Because I do love Tananarive Due's writing. It flows, it's evocative, I'm in the scenes. But also, I think my coworker kind of put it, The Good House is fun. Like, that's fun horror. Like, it's just a spooky, terrifying time. And obviously there are injustices and traumas. But it's like more genre horror without as much thematic weight. This is going to be horror from the thematic side, and it's already like front and center. Like, first chapter, I'm already like, oh boy, it's not going to be good. Especially because, like, I haven't even read the front flap of the book, but I know where we're going. Like, the Reformatory, I mean, that's a place that they put young men who have wronged in society. It's basically juvenile prisons before we had juvenile prisons. And honestly, it took a really long time for them to be closed. Like, this is 1950. Less than 100 years ago. And like, one of the last ones I read about that concept was Nickel Boys, and I don't even think that was that far back. I don't remember exactly the decade the Nickel Boys took place in, but it felt more modern than this. So yeah, it's gonna be heavy. But I do think it is time. I don't have an audio for this, so this will be my physical read. And if that gets too heavy, I did read the first chapter because I was last night just like trying to decide something to read, and I had a migraine and I was just trying to get myself tired enough to fall asleep. Migraines are so cruel because it's like, yeah, I do just want to sleep it off, but I'm in too much pain to like fall asleep. But I was reading The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and I read the first chapter, and we'll see if I can get on with Mariana Zapata's prose. I haven't committed yet. Like, I think I like the dynamics we're setting up. Like, I think. But also, the voice of this female main character is a lot. And how she, like, it's very descriptive in a way I'm just not used to in contemporary romance. And I know, like, this comes more from the indie pub side of romance and then got picked up by a trad publisher. And I'm just not a descriptive reader in any genre. It doesn't mean I don't like, I think, things to be described, but just not like the visual cues. Like, it does not matter to me how many ways you tell me his shoulders are broad. Like, I just want the gist. I just want the gist. I get it. He's a football player. I know what they look like. Like, I get it. Which I know, like, that's just taste. Like, that's just, everyone's gonna have their taste. But I will say on, like, the first page, the main character said something like, he had this face that just made me want to put my finger up his nose. Not in a sexual way, but it was also just like, in what way is that a reasonable thought to have? I have never had such a thought. I do not understand how someone gets that thought. So that already, just from the get-go, I'm like, what is the vibe of this main character? But yeah, and like I said, I was going to read My Best Friend's Exorcist as my audiobook, but I usually like Emily Woozeller, but she's not cooking for this book. So I don't think I can do that. I do like, though, I opened it because I was trying to decide between My Best Friend's Exorcism and this, and I did like that the chapter titles are 80s songs because it's going to be my 80s horror. See, I'm just going to move through the decades as I get closer and closer to Halloween. It's going to be great. Inadvertently chronological historical horror month. But yeah, otherwise, that's what's happening there. We finished Wednesday. That was delightful. And I don't know what we're watching this weekend. We're almost done with the second to last season of What We Do in the Shadows. And yeah, I don't know what we'll do. I think we have some tentative horror adjacent things we might watch this weekend. We might not. Time will tell. But otherwise, I just have a book club ahead of me. Not as much work, so I can actually enjoy my weekend. And I'm just gonna try and get through the middle of the semester slump. It's always so much worse in fall because the weather doesn't help us. Like when people are dragging and it's crummy outside, they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay in bed. And it's like, I wish I was you doing that calculus as a student. But alas, I must be there and find the way to have the energy to, keep things going. But that's it for this one. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave I don't even know, a skull or a skeleton for the Empusium because of the cover. And otherwise, or I guess if you want, I don't know if there's a bacteria, but if there's a bacteria emoji for tuberculosis, that would be fun. But otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.